next speaker is a digital troublemaker and Unicode wizard. Please put your hands together for Terence Eden.
So, hello, I'm Terence Eden. I'm a computer scientist, as you can probably tell from my ridiculous facial hair. I'm a bit sad about Brexit. I think lots of people are here. Well, it's a bit presumptive of me. Give me a cheer if you love the fact that we're leaving the EU.
Yay! I'm joking.
Okay, there we go. So, I don't know about you, but when I get sad, I like to watch my favourite movies. I just find that nice warm embrace of the familiar. And amongst my favourite movies, and I hope it's one of your favourite movies, is this. 1942's Casablanca. It's an amazing film. Now, fair warning, this talk is going to contain spoilers. So if you've not already seen it, tough. So I was thinking about this, and I was watching it the other day, and it strikes me that the story of Casablanca is an almost perfect parallel to what's happening in the UK at the moment. So I'd like to introduce my talk to you. Oh, don't laugh at that, that's terrible. At its heart, what is Casablanca the story of? It's the letters of transit that they need to get. It's visas. Now, I travel around the world giving talks about computing, and it's just so easy to go to EU countries. You just walk up to the border, show your passport, they barely look at it, and in you go, and it's great, and everyone uses the same money apart from us. But you know, and Romania, and a few other places, but you know, it's broadly really good. Now, when I go to other countries, I don't know, has anyone here had to fill in a visa for India? Oh my. It's a nightmare. It's forms and forms, and then you have to list every single country that you've ever visited, and they give you like 64 characters to type that in, which isn't enough. And then you have to remember what your father's mother's maiden names are. And traveling around even into America is really fraught, and it can be expensive and time-consuming and expensive. And that's kind of probably what's going to happen once we leave the EU. It's going to be a lot harder for us to travel to these international conferences. It will be a lot harder to bring people in, and that's going to make our work a lot harder, and that makes me sad. And I don't want that to happen, but it looks like it is. Now, the other part of Casablanca, which really reminds me of this situation, is this idea of neutrality. So for those of you who don't know, Casablanca sort of takes place in a neutral-ish area of the world with lots of different forces, and the Americans are neutral, and there's a lot of talk about what it means to be neutral in the face of hostility. And I thought, isn't that very much like network neutrality? Good, thank you. So for those of you who don't know, it's how to explain network neutrality. Let's assume that your broadband provider at home is Sky. At the moment, network neutrality says that Sky are not allowed to disrupt or slow down or charge for your access to Netflix. And you know, they might want to do that so you take out a Sky TV subscription, but they can't, because all data is counted as the same. Now, what happens if we lose network neutrality, which is a very real possibility if we leave Europe? Does all of a sudden, you know, if we're dealing with huge data sets, are we going to have to pay different amounts of money for transmitting different amounts of data? What will happen to roaming costs if we go abroad and use our mobile phones? When we're dealing with huge amounts of data and moving it in and out of the country, is that going to be taxed? What's going to happen to it? We just don't know, but it's very worrying for anyone who deals with large amounts of data. But also, at the moment, we're sort of in a digital single market. If you want to buy digital goods from Europe, you can, and the taxes of, you know, there's tax harmonization and stuff like that. If that goes, what happens? Lots of the digital goods we buy at the moment come from Luxembourg, and the tax rates are different there. Are we going to see a sudden spike in the cost? People who want to buy from us, what happens to all those digital products that we create? We don't know. And then the third and final part of Casablanca, which reminds me of Brexit, is the idea of security. So, would you trust Renault? I hope there's no more French in, I think I've just butchered that. But you wouldn't. I mean, the whole point in Casablanca is the police can do anything. They can storm in anywhere, confiscate anything, round up the usual suspects, throw them in jail with very little warning and very little due process. And We currently have a Prime Minister, as of about 6 o'clock, who, in the Home Office, has pushed through some incredibly troubling legislation, which basically says that if you hold data, the security services, the police and so on, can come up to you and say, would like a look at that, please? And you can say, do you have a warrant? And they go, yeah, I don't know, probably. And there's very little oversight on what can be taken. And in actual fact, they want all communication providers, so that's ISPs and anyone who's in the business of holding data, to be able to put backdoors in that and to let a wide variety of people just come in and take a look. Now, if you want to store data anywhere in the world, would you store it in the UK under those circumstances? If you are dealing with large amounts of sensitive data, let's say that you're building up a genetic database, for example, if at any point the cops can come and knock on the door and say, that's a nice looking genetic database you've got there. Can we have it? You can't say no. That's the position that it's likely that we will be put in. So that scares me. But just as Casablanca tells us about all these problems, it also contains the solutions, which is very handy for this talk. So the first thing that we need to do in order to make the situation better is organise. Now, if you've seen Casablanca, you will know that the resistance there do not post anything on Facebook. It's weird. They do not check in Rick's Cafe on Foursquare. They do not retweet Laszlo's, rapid-fire tweets about how evil the Nazis are. Now, why is that? Now, some cynics say it's because the internet was not invented until at least the mid-60s, and this film takes place in the 40s. But no, they are wrong. It is in actual fact because collectivism solves nothing. Literally nothing. If you tweet, you are most likely tweeting into an echo chamber. If you're posting angry stuff on Facebook, no one is seeing it because Facebook wants you to see pictures of kittens. If you sign petitions, no one takes any notice of them. We can't go around clicking on things and expecting things to change. We have to go out there, like we're doing today, and join groups and solve problems together out in the real world. We need to go out and start lobbying. Now, thank you. One of the things that I would definitely say is that there are lots of existing groups out there at the moment. So, for example, I'm a big supporter of the Open Rights Group. So if you go to openrightsgroup.org, you can join for just a few pounds a month. We're trying to get more members here in Oxford. And they are incredibly good at lobbying government, incredibly good at lobbying legislators and civil servants and all these sorts of people. Because quite often they found that MPs are told, oh, there's this very important law and it's all to do with the internet. And they go, the internet, eh? I don't understand anything about it. Oh, don't worry, it'll save the children. Oh, the children, yes, I'll definitely vote for that. And the Open Rights Group can actually go and talk to them and say, do you actually understand what you're signing? Let's talk about what encryption is, what happens if you backdoor it, what's going on with these issues. There's also big projects like SaveTheInternet.eu, which is looking at network neutrality. Now, one of the things I'd say is go out, find these organisations. I'm not going to tell you to go and join a political party if you've got time in the next 48 hours to do so. I would perhaps encourage you to join a trade union. I'm a proud trade union member. But look also for professional organisations which you can use to lobby both industry and government and say, look, as professionals, as scientists, as people in industry, as individuals, this is what we want, this is what we need to keep everything ticking over. Please don't go off and start your own groups. There's enough groups out there, honestly. Just go ahead and join up. So that's openrightsgroup.org. You can even join on your phone right now if you're finding this talk boring. The next thing that Casablanca teaches us is resist. The movie is about resistance. Now, if you worked in computer security for any length of time, at some point a perfectly reasonable chap will have come up to you and had a perfectly reasonable chat about, wouldn't it be just perfectly reasonable if you just, we're all friends here, look, if you just let us in to your data. This is what we have to resist. It is incredibly tempting to go, well, we must think of the country and do what's right. Well, actually no, when what you're being asked to do is compromise encryption, compromise research, compromise confidentiality, it is up to all of us to resist. I'm not saying that we should go out in the streets and protest, but I'm saying that we should be very public in saying, no, I am not going to allow this to happen to my data, to my customers. There's the American National Institute for Standards and Technology about 10 years ago cut out to the National Security Agency and deliberately weakened a specific form of encryption. And this has had two big knock-on effects. The first is it has completely tarnished their reputation. Why would you go and use encryption when you know that it has been backdoored? And secondly, it has probably weakened the security of millions of people, billions of devices. So collaborating with people who ask you to weaken encryption, to let them in to your data is dangerous, and it should be resisted at all costs. And the final thing that I learned from watching Casablanca is that we need to diversify. So at the start I said that you could probably tell that I was a computer scientist because of my ridiculous facial hair. I wish that was a joke. It's not. The computer science industry is just so laughably sexist. It's just appalling. We cannot work, we cannot organise and we cannot resist unless we are organising and resisting with everyone. We can't, if you go to any computer science conference, in the audience and in the panels you will see pale, stale and male, and that's it. And it's crap. I mean, computer science is reasonably good at recruiting in some diverse areas, but it just isn't good enough. If we want to create solutions, we have to understand the problems that everyone is going through. We need to build diverse platforms. We can't have platforms where women feel continually harassed or racists feel that they can just go and spew their bile all over the place, because it doesn't help anyone. We need to hold a mirror up to society rather than this sort of warped vision that we have at the moment. I think the most powerful scene in Casablanca is this one, where they all get together and they sing the Marseillaise. And it doesn't matter if they are French or not French, or male or female, or black or white, or gay or straight, it doesn't matter. It's about coming together and saying, look, we are a diverse people, we will organise and we will resist, and we will fight to make things better. And this is what we need to do. We need to make sure that the people that you see on stage and the people building your tools reflect society. We need to make sure that we are organised, that we go and we talk to MPs. I mean, if you go to Write to Them, which is a project by My Society, you can send an email instantly to your MP or to a Lord and say, look, this is what I want, this is what's happening, this is what I want as a professional, as a scientist. It's vital that we do that together and show a united front in that. And finally, I suppose, what I'll say is a little bit of good news perhaps for the computing industry, which is that we're great at building tools which ignore the fact that we're across boundaries and across time zones and that we speak different languages and we use different currencies. We are really well placed to say, okay, we are going to use these tools and say, well, we don't care about your Brexit. We are still going to collaborate. We are still going to work together, and we are still going to make amazing products and discover amazing things. I suppose what I'm trying to say in the immortal words of Rick is, thank you very much. Thank you.